Hello everyone, you're very welcome to our SUSI's Information Event. My name is Brenda and I work in SUSI's Communications and Customer Services section. SUSI is Ireland's national awarding authority for further and higher education grants, and we provide funding for approved courses at PLC, undergraduate and postgraduate level. We're now accepting applications for the upcoming 26-27 academic year. Today we're going to take a look at the eligibility criteria and help you understand if you might be eligible for funding. We'll then take a look at the application process and walk you through how to make an application. We also have an expert team on hand to answer your questions. If you have any questions, do pop them into the Q&A box, which you'll find at the top of your screen. Keep in mind, however, that it may be published for the wider audience to view, so we ask that you don't include any personal details in your question. Also, bear in mind that your name will be published along with your question. If you don't want to include your name, you can select Anonymous. We're recording today's event and we will be publishing it on our YouTube channel for those who couldn't make it this evening. So again, just keep in mind that if your question is published, it, along with your name, will also appear in the recording. So let's get started. I'm now going to take you through today's presentation, which hopefully will answer some of our most frequently asked questions. Some of the questions we've been asked in previous years have been pinned to the Q&A section, but I'll run through them quickly. Just click the See More to see the full questions and answers. So the first question is, can I apply without a PPSN? And the answer to that one is, you will need to apply for a PPSN if you don't already have one, and you can get one of these from the Client Services section of the Department of Social Protection. Next question is, what if I don't get an offer for my first choice course? Can I still get a grant? And the answer to that is yes. You'll just need to submit an online course change notification form with your new course details, and you can do that through the My Courses section of your SUSI student portal. Another question we get asked is, can I get a grant to study outside of Ireland? The answer is yes, as long as you're studying a full-time undergraduate course and your chosen college is in either the EU, the EEA or the UK, and it's approved by SUSI, you may still be eligible for a maintenance grant only. We often get asked, when is the closing date? The priority closing date for renewal applications is the 11th of June, and for new applications it's the 9th of July. We're still going to accept applications after these dates, but applications submitted before these dates will receive priority assessment. And finally, how is income assessed? For students who are under 23 on the 1st of January 2026, they're going to be assessed on their income and that of their parents or legal guardians. Students who are over 23 on the 1st of January and are living with their parents are also assessed with their income and their parents or legal guardians. Students who are over 23 on the 1st of January and live independently from their parents can be assessed with their income and that of their spouse, partner or cohabitant. And for the 26-27 academic year, it's going to be based on gross income earned between the 1st of January and the 31st of December 2025. So what are we going to cover today? This evening's presentation will give you an overview of the SUSI grant as well as the application process and SUSI's key eligibility criteria. The topics we're going to cover are, what is the SUSI grant? Am I eligible? How do I apply? What do I need to apply? And what happens next? So the first question there, what is the SUSI grant? There's two components to the SUSI grant. These are the maintenance grant and there's the fee grant. So we'll take a look at each one of those now. So the first one is the maintenance grant. So what is the maintenance grant? It's a contribution toward the student's day-to-day living expenses while they're at college. And if you're awarded a maintenance grant, it's going to be paid directly into your bank account in 9 monthly instalments over the course of the academic year. If you are awarded a maintenance grant, it's going to be paid at either the adjacent rate or the non-adjacent rate, depending on the distance from your permanent address to the campus of the college that you're attending. The adjacent rate is paid when your college is less than 30 kilometres from your normal permanent residence, and the non-adjacent rate is paid when your college is 30 kilometres or more from your normal residence. Now we'll take a look at the fee grant. So what exactly is a fee grant? A fee grant may cover all or part of the student contribution for those who qualify for the Free Fees Initiative, or for those who don't qualify for the free fees, it may pay all or part of your tuition fees up to a maximum amount of €6,270, and it may also pay for the cost of essential field trips. So now we'll take a look at the funding types and the different types of course that SUSI provides funding for. So we provide grant funding for courses right the way from PLC level 5 through undergraduate, all the way up to level 10, PhD or doctorate level for a postgrad level. So now the next question is, am I eligible? To be eligible for a grant, every student must meet the following eligibility criteria. Nationality, residency, you must be attending an approved course in an approved college, you must be progressing in your education, and then finally, we take a look at the household income. So now we're going to take a look at each one of these in individual. So first one, nationality. So to be eligible, you must be either an Irish, EU, EEA, UK or Swiss national, or have specific permission to remain in the state as granted by the Department of Justice. And further details of all the eligible permissions to remain can be found in the nationality section of the SUSI website, which is susi.ie. Next, we'll take a look at residency. So to be eligible, every student must have been ordinarily resident in either Ireland, the EU, the EEA, the UK or Switzerland for 3 of the last 5 years before their course starts. So for the 26-27 academic year, this period will be from September 2021 to the end of August 2026. It doesn't have to be 3 consecutive years, but where you have been resident will be a factor in what type of funding you may be eligible for. If you've been resident in Ireland for 3 of the last 5 years, you're known in SUSI terms as a student and may be eligible for both a maintenance grant and a fee grant. If you've been resident outside of Ireland but within the EU, EEA or the UK or Switzerland, you're known in SUSI terms as a tuition student, and while you may be eligible for a fee grant, you won't be eligible for a maintenance grant. So the next one is approved courses in approved colleges. So to be eligible, all students must be attending an approved course in an approved institution. We can't fund courses in private colleges, and the only part-time courses that we fund are those that are listed in the approved courses section of the SUSI website, where you'll find details of all our approved courses. Next one is progression in education. Now, I know a lot of you here today are Leaving Cert students, so this might not apply to you, but it is one of the eligibility criteria, so we'll explain it to you. So as well as attending an approved course, you must also be progressing in your education. And what do we mean by that? We mean you must be attending courses that are at a higher level than any qualification that you may already hold. So for example, if you already hold a level 7 qualification and are looking to attend a level 8 course, then you would be progressing in your studies. But if you already hold a level 7 and are looking to attend another level 7, then you wouldn't be progressing and therefore would not be eligible for a grant. And this is irrespective of when and where you received that qualification and whether you had been awarded a grant for it or not. So you must be attending courses at a higher level than any course that you may have previously attended and in which you are progressing from one year to the next and not repeating any part of your course. SUSI can't fund you for a repeat period of study. So for example, if you have attended year 1 of a course and have to repeat that year for any reason, we can't fund you for that year 1 again, but once you progress into year 2, we can. So that covers SUSI's main eligibility criteria, and next we'll take a look at household income. So basically, a student's household income must fall under specific thresholds for them to be eligible for funding, and it's going to be a factor in determining what type of funding, what level of grant an applicant may receive. It's on a sliding scale. The higher the income, the lower the rate of grant a student is eligible for, and information on all of the income thresholds and the grant award rates can be found in the income section of the SUSI website. But we'll just take a look at the main thresholds here. So where the household income for 2025 is under €120,000 for a family with less than 4 dependent children, €131,520 for a family with 4 to 7 children, €142,570 for a family with 8 or more dependent children, and you're hoping to study at undergraduate level, you may be eligible for some type of funding. So income on all of the income thresholds are available in the income section of the SUSI website, where you can also find information about the different rates of grant. So next thing you might be asking is, well, whose income is considered? How does SUSI calculate the household income? That depends on what type of student you're classified as. So if you're under 23, you're automatically classed as a dependent student, and it's your income and that of the parent or legal guardians that you're living with that's going to be taken into consideration. If you're 23 or over and are living with your parents, then you're going to be classed as a mature dependent student, and again, it's the income of the student and that of the parents or legal guardians. If you're over 23 and have been living independently from your parents from the October prior to when you first enter further higher education, then you can be classed as a mature independent student, and the income that's taken into consideration is again the student and that of your spouse, civil partner or cohabitant. More information on applicant class can be found in the income section of the SUSI website. So now we'll just take a look at some examples of the income. So when we're looking at income for the 26-27 academic year, it's all income earned by all parties to the application between the 1st of January and the 31st of December 2025. And some examples of that type of income is income from employment and private pensions, income from self-employment or farming, rental income, and income from social welfare payments. And just to note that some social welfare payments aren't included when we're calculating the total income. They're known as income disregards, and I will give you some examples in just a couple of slides. Other examples of income that we take into consideration is income from savings and investments. Just to note that it's just the interest earned on those that we take into consideration. It's not the amount that you may have in a savings account. Income from maintenance arrangements is taken into consideration. Any gifts or inheritance is taken in. And also income from lump sum payments from retirement or redundancy. And just a note on lump sums there, we divide them down by the years worked. So for example, if somebody worked for 25 years and received a lump sum of €100,000 on retirement, we divide that €100,000 by the 25, so the amount that we would consider would be just the €4,000. So now we'll just talk about, I mentioned there briefly, some disregarded income. So like I said, not all income is included. And examples of some income that can be disregarded include housing assistance payments or HAP, carers allowance, working family payment, formerly known as FIS, and disability allowance when paid to the applicant. And the list of all the disregarded payments can be found in the income section of the SUSI website. Now, something that can improve the rate of grant a student is eligible for is known as holiday earnings. So what exactly is holiday earnings? It's income from employment earned by the applicant outside of term time. So that means during the 2 weeks Easter holidays, the summer holidays, June, July and August, and 2 weeks Christmas holidays. The maximum amount that we can deduct is €8,830. So to qualify to have holiday earnings deducted from your total income, the first thing is you must declare this when you're filling in your application form. So when the applicant is filling in the income section of the SUSI application form, the first question that they're going to be asked is, did you have any income from full-time or part-time employment in 2025? If they answer yes to this question, a little text box is going to pop up for them to enter in the amount that they earned. So the total that they earned in 2025, enter that into the box there. The next question that's going to be asked is any of this in respect of holiday earnings? So what we mean by that is any portion of the full amount that you earned over the year, if you earned any of that during the Easter, summer and Christmas holidays, just do a quick calculation of the amount that you earned during those periods and tick yes to the holiday earnings question and enter the amount into the text box that pops up there. Just a note there on holiday earnings, to qualify for holiday earnings to be deducted from your application, first thing is you must have been in education last year. When we say being in education, it doesn't have to have been in college education. As long as you are in Leaving Cert, that's fine. As long as you're in full-time education, we can deduct your holiday earnings. And just to note that we will need the evidence of the holiday earnings before we make the deduction from the total household income. We will only ask you for evidence of the holiday earnings if we think that it's going to improve the rate of grant you're eligible for. We will request it from you then and you can submit it to us at a later date. So that's holiday earnings. So that's one thing that can get you a better rate of grant. Another thing is if there is a relevant person in the household. So what exactly is a relevant person? In SUSI terms, a relevant person is if a student has either a sibling or a parent who is also going to be attending a full-time further higher education course or an approved part-time course in the same academic year. This may improve the rate of grant that they're eligible for. And why? Because for every eligible relevant person in the household, we can raise the income thresholds by almost €5,000. If this applies to you, if you do have another person who is going to be going to college in the same academic year as yourself, make sure to answer yes to question E2 on the application form and give us their details. And if both of you are both going to be applying this year, make sure to both of you to tick the consent box that says that you consent to us to share data with both applications. So that's your relevant person. Next thing that we're going to take a look at is the special rate of maintenance grant. So this is something that you may have heard of and you might be wondering what exactly is that. It's a top up on the ordinary rate of maintenance grant. So to qualify, the income must be under a certain threshold. So for families with less than 4 dependent children, that is €28,600, and the threshold is going to differ for those with 4 or more dependent children. You'll find the other income thresholds in the income section of the SUSI website. But as well as being under the income threshold, it must also include income from an eligible long-term Department of Social Protection and somebody must be in receipt of one of those payments on the 31st of December 2025. And there's a list of all the eligible payments. You can find that in the special rate page of the SUSI website. So as I mentioned previously, for courses starting in September 26, so the 26-27 academic year, your application is going to be assessed on gross income for 2025. However, if there has been a change of income after 2025, such as a reduction due to retirement, redundancy, change of employment, etc., you can ask to have your application assessed under that change in circumstances, and instead we can assess it on your current 2026 income. So if that does apply to you, you might be saying, well, okay, how do I let SUSI know that I've experienced a change? When you're filling in your application form, just tick yes to question F16, which is the very last question on the application form. Once you tick yes to that, a little text box is going to pop up, and in there you can give us a short description of the nature of the change. So it might be one of your parents may have retired in 2025 or in 2026 and you want to have your application reassessed under that. Just a short description, and that will help us to know what documents we may need to request from you. If you've already submitted your application and we've finalised it, you can request a review under Change in Circumstances through your SUSI student portal. Just click on the My Request section at the top of the page. To find if you might be eligible for a maintenance or fee grant, you can use SUSI's eligibility indicator. It's an online tool which you can find on our SUSI website. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it can give you an indication as to whether or not you may be approved for funding. And you can find a link to it on the home page of the SUSI website. Just click the start button there that you'll see in the centre of the screen, and it'll bring you through a number of questions, and the results you'll get at the end will say either you may or you may not be eligible for SUSI funding. So maybe just take 5 minutes to try that before you make your application. And I can see here that the questions are coming in. Don't forget that we have pinned some of our frequently asked questions in the Q&A section. Just click the See More option to check if your question has been answered already. So now you might be saying, okay, that's great. I've loads of information there. When can I make my application to SUSI? And the answer is now. We opened on the 4th of April for the 26-27 academic year, and all applications are made online at susi.ie. Just click the Apply Login button that you can find in the top right-hand corner of every page of the SUSI website to begin the process. You're going to need some things to hand to when you're making your application, so we'll run through these really quickly for you. So the first thing is the applicants themselves. You're the one that's going to be making the application. You can apply with either your verified MyGov ID or with your PPSN. The next thing that we're going to ask you to have to hand is PPSNs for other parties to the application. So for a dependent student, that will be your parents or legal guardians that you live with. And for an independent student, it will be your spouse, civil partner or cohabitant. The next thing that we're going to ask you for is just an estimate of your 2025 income. You don't need to worry about having any documents or anything to hand. SUSI has data sharing agreements with Revenue and with the Department of Social Protection. We're able to verify the majority of people's income without requesting any documents. So just an estimate of your income in there. The next one is if you have applied through the CAO, you will have been given an 8-digit CAO registration number. Make sure to put that down on your SUSI application. And you may remember when you were doing your CAO application, you would have seen a text box there, a little tick box to say that you consent to share your details with SUSI. Make sure to go back into your CAO application and see how you ticked that box, because we have a data sharing agreement with the CAO and we'll be able to share details of the course that you accept once the offers come out come late August, early September. Next thing that we're going to ask you for is your course details. SUSI's application will only allow you to put one course on the SUSI application section. So whatever your first choice is on your CAO application, put that down on your SUSI application. We'll assess you and hopefully award you funding for that course. But if later on in the year, when you are offered a place through the CAO, if you accept a place on a course that's differently to the one that you had in your SUSI application, you don't need to let SUSI know that you've changed your course details. The CAO will let us know directly. We'll update your application with the new course details and send you out a new award letter. If you haven't applied to the CAO, you may be doing a PLC course, you may be doing a postgrad, or you just may not have applied to the CAO. If you change your course details from the one that you had on your original application, you'll just need to log into your SUSI student portal, click on the My Courses tab at the top of the page and fill in an online course change notification form. And then finally, the last thing that we're going to ask you to have to hand is your AIR code. And the reason we ask you for your AIR code is because if you have been awarded a maintenance grant, we will use your AIR code and the AIR code of the campus of the college that you're attending to calculate the distance and therefore award you either the adjacent or non-adjacent correct rate of maintenance grant. So that's what you need to apply. Now you might be asking, okay, so how do I apply? What's the steps that I need to take to make my application? So step 1, register your account. And again, like I said, you can use either your verified MyGov ID or your PPSN to register. Step 2, complete your application. You don't have to complete the application in one sitting. You can pause it at any stage and go back to complete it at a later point. And then step 3, submit the application online. Once you submitted your application to SUSI, you'll receive an acknowledgement email from you saying that we have received your application and your application will be queued for assessment. And what happens when it gets queued for assessment? So it'll be assessed by a member of SUSI's assessment team. Once they finish their initial assessment, you receive a letter in the post advising you of the outcome of the assessment. If we've determined that you are eligible for a grant, the letter will tell you the rate of grant you've been awarded. It'll tell you the course we've awarded you in respect of, and will also give you a breakdown of how we've calculated your income. If we've determined that you're not eligible for a grant for one reason or more, the letter will tell you the reason why and also of your right to appeal the decision. Make sure to read the letter carefully as it contains important information regarding your grant. And if you see any errors on the letter, contact the SUSI support desk and we'll look into it for you. Now, on occasion, we may need some supporting documents from you to be able to finalise your application. And in those cases, we'll send you a checklist letter listing the documents we need and the deadline of when we need those documents from you. If we have asked you for some supporting documents and there's going to be any delay, just contact the SUSI support desk and let us know that the documents are on the way. And you'll be able to find the contact details on the SUSI website. So here's some important tips for you for making your application. First one, when you're filling in your CAO form, make sure to tick the consent to share details with SUSI. Apply early. As I said, we're now open for the 26-27 academic year and we assess all of our applications on date received basis. The priority closing date, the 9th July 2026, we will continue to accept applications after that date, but any applications received on or before that date will be assessed first. If there's a relevant person in your household, make sure to include their details on your application as they may improve the rate of grant you're eligible for. You can track your application's progress at any time by simply logging into your SUSI student portal and you'll see on the homepage there you'll see a tracker which will show you the different stage that your application is at. And finally, if we have asked you to send in any supporting documents, make sure to send them in complete and on time. And when we say complete, what we mean is if we've asked you for more than one document and you don't have them all to hand together, wait until you have all the documents before you send them in to us. And if there's going to be any delay, a quick call or email to the SUSI support desk to let us know. So that's the end of today's presentation. There's lots of information there, and remember all of this and more is available on our website susi.ie. That brings us to the end of today's event. The chat is now closed for questions. And remember, you can contact our support desk by phone or email. We're open Monday to Friday from 9 till 5:30. So before we go, I'd like to thank you for joining us and thank everyone at SUSI who helped make today's event happen. But for now, from me and the SUSI team, we wish you all the best in your studies and we look forward to hearing from you in the coming weeks and months. Goodbye for now.